Does Netflix give refunds? This is Todd Luck, and this is a review of the second season of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This is the CGI show that's currently on Netflix. It just premiered for the second season, and this one's aimed at kids, and this is not the review I thought I was going to be doing. When I reviewed season one, I thought it was just an kind of show, but it wasn't bad, right? And I understood it wasn't aimed at me. You know, it's written down to kids. That's okay, right? I didn't really keep up with when season two was coming out and just saw something on Netflix Thursday that said season two had dropped. And because I wanted to see the new characters they put in there, I decided to go ahead and watch it. I watched the first half on Thursday. And honestly, I thought the show had improved in those first 4 episodes. Everything that I said I wanted them to do in my first season review, they were starting to do, right? They introduced new characters outside of those core characters we always got in every animated series. We got Stratos, we got Man-E-Faces. They gave them focus episodes and actually made them distinct and interesting and did something cool with them that I would imagine would make the kids, you know, want to buy the toys. And you know, we actually got to see where they came from. We actually got to see more of Eternia, go some interesting places. Avion actually looked cool. And just overall, it was just better than the first season, those first 4 episodes. The writing is still pretty much just functional, but at least it is functional, right? At least it is, you know, just decent type of storytelling. There's still, you know, silly stuff in there, still kind of dumb, cringy stuff, but it is a kid's show, right? And Filmation did dumb, cringy stuff with Skeletor too. So, you know, sometimes kids shows just have, you know, kind of silly senses of humor, so they're in good company there, right? But then I watched the last 4 episodes on Friday, and after I got through with that, I was like, can I get my $15 back? That was terrible. And narratively, I just don't know what happened to the series. The person who wrote the first couple episodes also wrote the last couple episodes. The showrunner, you know, Rob David from Mattel, they did an in-house showrunner, but he was showrunner for the first season and this entire season. So I don't know what happened at the end. My only speculation is that it feels like they had more planned than made it into the actual episodes, right? That maybe there were subplots or things to, you know, pay off things or build up to things that just didn't make it into the actual season. You know, maybe there were 10 episodes planned and they had it cut down to 8 and they just couldn't, you know, make what actually made it on screen work without, you know, that material they lost. That's my only explanation, because I can't imagine any rational person looking at the episodes as they aired and thinking, oh yeah, that story makes sense. And so I'm not going to do spoilers in this review. I'll just give, you know, my vague thoughts on what we know was in there, judging from the trailers and toy listings and things like that. So Stratos, I actually liked his redesign. Yeah, it is a pretty cold swipe of Falcon from Captain America, or if it's not, it's an awful coincidence, his look, but it works for me. He becomes this super arrogant, self-absorbed egomaniac sort of guy, and goes through, you know, the sort of story arc you would expect that character to go through, except at the end, it just felt like they ran out of time. You know, they needed some dialogue and some focus on him that just felt like they just didn't have the time to do in that episode. So that was a bit of a letdown, you know. But overall, I really just didn't necessarily like that direction for the character anyway. It was so over the top and so exaggerated. I would have just appreciated if they'd taken it about 9 notches down, you know. I think a little bit of the arrogance was more than enough. I don't think we needed to go as far as we did with the character. Man-E-Faces is in there. He's one of my favorite masters. He was actually the first figure I ever got. But here, I just didn't really care for the design or what they did with the character. The design kind of looks like a cross between a person and a Quintesson. And Quintessons are, for those of you who don't know, they were in the Transformers animated movie. You can look it up. You know, the guys with rotating faces and stuff. And personality-wise, they basically made him crazy. and I just didn't find him particularly a great character. I mean, he was just so out of touch with reality and just such a weird character. Even, you know, the hint of how he ended up as a cyborg with rotating faces was just so weird. Now, I actually did like Musketeer. I loved the design for her outfit, and I thought it was very clever to put a female Mosquito in there instead of the real thing, which you can see over here killing a palace guard, because we've never gotten Mosquito in animation, and I wouldn't want his first appearance to be in something this far removed from the regular source material. I would want him to appear in a more traditional animated series, something like Revelation, which hopefully will happen. No word on if there's a second season yet or not, but hopefully it's happening. But I did like what they did with her. She's a third-party villain, as you can probably tell from the trailer. And I thought that worked for her first appearance. She only has one brief cameo after that, and I just didn't feel like it really used the character very well. But there will be other seasons. Maybe they can do something interesting with her later. So Triclops did have a toy listing for the CG toys, and Triclops does appear in here, but barely appears in this season. And honestly, I cannot tell you what role Triclops was supposed to play. I just don't know why Triclops was even in there. And yes, there is an army of undead snake men. They look different here, but they're still snake men. Yes, this is another idea that we already have seen in the DC Comics run of Masters of the Universe. Again, I'm hoping Rob David can get these ideas out of his system and move on to something else, because, to be honest with you, I really didn't care for that run. Some of those ideas worked out great in Revelation. I don't think they're working out quite as well in this series, but I just hope, regardless, we can just move on and tell new stories with these characters. And there may be some people who are upset about the character death in this season, but it's a character that most likely will come back, and probably come back very soon. It's just one of those characters you can't really kill, or that just don't tend to stay dead. And hopefully they can stop killing this particular character, because we've seen it enough at this point, guys. But the thing that just killed this season for me, and honestly the entire series, was that final episode. I don't agree with what they did to a character. But I think it could have worked if they had appropriately built up to it. It felt like it came out of nowhere. That character was mostly absent during the season. They really, really needed to do some development leading up to that moment to justify it, and that simply was not there. It just didn't make any sense why that character did the stuff that that character did. And look, I understand how storytelling works. I understand that what happened to this character will most likely be undone, or it will be used as a stepping stone for something else to happen to the character. I understand this, but I just think that the motivation, as we saw it, made no sense. For something that drastic, for a character to do something that out of character, really needs a lot of justification. I think it could have worked, right? It is a cliche what happened to that character, and we've seen it done a million times, but sometimes people can get that to work. It really, really didn't happen in this episode. This season really, really needed to build up to that. It really needed a lot more build up and a lot more payoffs than we got. And again, I just feel like there were just chunks of it just missing. That's just what it felt like. And yes, I know it's a kid's show, and I think kids are going to be more accepting of this than adults. But I think there's probably still going to be some kids who are probably a little upset over that ending. But, you know, sometimes you just got to go with the rough stuff, you know, when you're following a series. Maybe it'll get better. I hope so. I mean, I hope that, you know, this season is just kind of a narrative fluke. You know, sometimes you have the best of intentions and things just don't work out the way you planned them to. And look, I am not saying that this is the worst Netflix original or anything like that. There's plenty of Netflix originals that are worse. Tarzan and Jane is still worse than this, right? And I'm not saying that this is the worst thing ever done with Masters of the Universe. There's plenty of horrible comic books that are worse than this. I mean, my God, I am trying to work my way through the newspaper strips right now. And I am not kidding you. I just got finished with a story that has paparazzis on Eternia and Evil-Lyn selling makeup. I am not making that up. That actually happened in the He-Man newspaper strip. So yeah, we have been cursed with a lot of bad stories. Animation has been the one of the refuges of good storytelling that we've had over the decades. So it does kind of suck to see something this bad make it into an episode. But like I said, hopefully it's going to get better. And, you know, if you felt let down like I did, just, you know, watch something else, right? There's plenty of Masters of the Universe material out there. Netflix obviously has Revelation. The older animated series are all over the place. Just go watch something. There's plenty of good animation of He-Man and the Masters Universe all over the place that you can consume. All right, that's all my thoughts on Season 2 of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, good journey.